This is the Excellence in Leadership Conference 2024. It's tagged the Innovative Leader. Now, I'm going to call a couple here, a young couple, to come and have a conversation with us here. Don't worry, you'll meet them. Don't be in a hurry. A very young couple, just been married for about 25, 30 years or so. Just so you know. But we'd also like to do two things, and those information is going to come on the screen shortly. First, what's the ELC experience been like for you so far? The ELC, we would like to have your feedback. That is going to come up on the screen shortly. And that is it. Let us know what you think. The bit.ly link is there. The barcode is there. Or whatever code it is for you. There's been a lot of innovation, right? But then for this conversation, if you would like to interact with us, we'll be putting that up later. But take this for now. In the meantime, please welcome with me the hosts of this conference and the conference speakers and the senior pastors of Daystar Christian Center. Please welcome Dr. and Dr. Mrs. Sam Adeyemi. You're welcome, sir. Okay. Thank you for coming to this program. As usual, Pastor Nike, I'll start with you. And there is a reason. In case you don't know, Pastor Nike also talks about leadership, but from the angle that's least expected. There was a question we asked last year. Do parents see themselves as leaders? And I think it was Pastor Sam that answered that question and said, it's not a popular opinion for parents to see themselves as leaders. And Pastor Sam told us on Wednesday, when we put out that information, that this year's ELC is a step up from last year to solve real problems. So let me start with you, Pastor Nike. What would you advise? It's supposed to be the last questions, but I'm starting with it. What would you advise that people begin to pay attention to now in terms of activating the learnings of this session for solving real problems? What should be the first thought in their hearts?
Thank you, Mr. Makinde. I call you HOC. It's the head of
But you see, when you're on air, you call me Ayo.
Okay. Okay, AYO. If we're talking about the learnings of this session, you're talking about today's session or just the entire?
The entire, generally.
Right, from over the 2 days.
Yes.
And solving problems. I mean, like, I started out with yesterday, which I titled we're examining the soul of an innovative leader. And it was pretty much similar to what Adara talked about today, being a lighthouse. You're a light, but it's, housed in a light. You're light, but it's housed in, a container. And I liken that container to be the soul. And I emphasized yesterday that if the soul is not healed, if there's a problem, and we looked at 3 John 2, that says, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. So the extent to which your soul prospers, I believe, will be the extent of your productivity. Because when you have all these dreams, but you have fear, limiting beliefs, I just saw a lot of similarity in the second session, where I started on a lot of what I shared and what she also shared, and I realized that, okay, we are people of empathy. Without us knowing, I didn't know what she was going to speak about, that is where to really go we are creators. We are co-creators with God. That has been established. He established that as a foundation. All the other speakers also, spoke into that. Creativity, we can use that interchangeably with innovation. But we were looking at, and some may say, oh, maybe because we're ladies or something, but I think because we're people of love, we're people of empathy, that's Adara and I, there's that similarity. We're looking at the limitations. We're looking at what's going on in this person's head. How is this person feeling right now? No doubt we are all creators, but why are you not creating? That's the question. And I think I started with that on my slides. We're like, who are you? Why are you here? Why are you not creating? What are you doing creatively with your pain? So we ended up by talking about you can still create with your pain. I remember giving an example. For example, if you're someone that always feels overlooked, unseen, and all that, you can create something. I said not necessarily like a WhatsApp group for lonely people or for, if you call it that, it will be, people won't come because they'll feel stigmatized. But in your pain, with your pain, or with what you've been through, you can still create.
Pastor Nike, let me.
So if we don't pay attention to the soul, to the Creator, because we are all creators now, right? But the Almighty Creator that's Him. But us, we are co-creators. If you don't pay attention to the Creator, there won't be much creation.
Which leads me to that question of the issue that you raised yesterday. You said, "Who are you?" If we take a poll now, I'm not sure we'll have up to 50% of the people in this hall who can say, "This is who I am." Do you agree with me? So that sets the question. Answering the who you are question is usually not easy to confront. So you are calling me a creator when I'm still buying. When I'm still looking, are you, someone is wondering right now, is she talking about content creator?
They are creators too. So I broke it down. I simplified it. I said creative, being an innovator is not only about tech. So that already, some people, that was just a light bulb moment for them right there. I could feel it, like, okay. Because I said I'm not in the tech space, but I've created Real Woman Foundation. I've created Breathe, and I talked a bit about Breathe, I created it for women like me who need to rest, who need to have a place to play, relax every 4 days, every year. We come together, and I talked about that. I said, that's a creation as well. So I think I could really feel some people think, oh, okay, if it's that, I'm here for this. Because it has been simplified. When you hear innovator, okay, it's a big word, innovative leader. So if we ask now, with this conference now, the second day coming to an end, and I ask, who are you? At least there's something you'll be able to say from the top of your head if you didn't know before. You'll be able to say, I'm a co-creator with the Almighty Creator.
Okay.
I'm a co-creator with God. And people who have heard this will understand that you are not being, what did he say, proud. Can you see how we were just so healed and blessed by Idika Pastor telling us about, good, that's a good place. That you are not being proud. But before this conference, you are creative, you and God you are made in the image of God, but you cannot say it because your brain is telling you it's blasphemy. You and God is the same. It's because you have not read your Bible. And Adara was saying we should read our Bible differently. If he says, let us make man in our image, male and female, he made them. So are you outside that loop? So we've been underperforming. But now we've been reminded and our eyes have opened. And that means we have to carry ourselves differently. And don't feel that you are proud. Case in point. I don't know if I should say this. I wasn't meant to wear this outfit. My stylist had some days before, and we had said, okay, I brought some outfits that I was going to wear. But she had made this and the one I wore yesterday for me. From the last time, I think a month or two ago that I was in Nigeria. I said, make these outfits for me. They would just be there for occasions. I wasn't thinking ELC, but I already had some nice, kaba. My normal, simple, whatever. And I hung them, and she came to the house, she delivered this. And I said, I know you don't think I'm wearing this for ELC, any of the two. She said, that's what you are wearing. I said, Even my PA looked at it too and said, okay, maybe the purple one, the one of yesterday, but not this one. And I said, no, this one will be for Women of Destiny Conference. Power Women Conference.
And that's in April, by the way.
What?
That's in April next year.
What?
The Women of Destiny Conference, April next year.
Yes.
So that's information for you stored somewhere.
Yeah. So I said, she said, but it's fine. I said, but it's ELC. ELC usually, when we started ELC, it was just simple, and we want to keep it that way. We're reaching out to young people, and I like simple dressing, not necessarily power dressing. So yesterday one we agreed, but today I was to wear something else. But girl, I woke up this morning, and I was feeling my feels. Steez. And I thought to myself, if not now, when? So my stylist and my PA, they're surprised that I'm wearing this today. Yesterday's one, they were not surprised. Today was supposed to be just one plain purple, just simple, very me-ish. And I didn't consult with them before putting this on. This was supposed to be Women of Destiny or Real Woman Conference, And I just thought to myself, God will provide another one. Before that time. Why keep it? Why hide it? But I was going somewhere. That means I'm already taking off. It doesn't mean this is how I'll always dress. Another day you might just see me very simple and say, she has gone back. So don't think that this now because I'm not sure if I can keep this up. And I won't try to keep it up because I don't keep up with nobody. But I'm going somewhere to say that this is someone's creation. This is someone's creation. Many of us have been to the food court during the break time. We were also having our snacks. The small chops and everything, someone's creation. But maybe it was recreated. Because ID said, it's the same whatever, you roll it around, So we are all creating, but we've not been conscious that we are creating. So can you now begin to intentionally create? Sit down and list the things you created. So if you've been creating chaos before, in class, if you have been the bully, we said it yesterday, don't be the bully again. Don't create noise, create peace. I found out I've been creating safe spaces for people. Love Home Orphanage is my creation. I co-created with it with God. And orphans have been taken care of there. I may need the techie people to help me do the website and all of that. So I proudly say, so look at it. You have been creating things. We had our Breathe retreat recently, and I'll round up here so I can let him, speak as well. And we're just about 14 or 15 women. But do you know that, who was at Breathe here? Pastor Mo. Anyway, let me behave myself because this is I thought I was preaching, because if I was preaching, I'll just call someone to the stage and say, tell us what happened. Remember the day we wore our t-shirts and were supposed to go out? That was the outing day. We had done the coaching, first day coaching, then after that we just play, we relax, spa and all of that. Now the day we were to go out, we had our t-shirts. Simple round neck t-shirt, everybody had their right sizes and all that. And then these two ladies, by the time we got into the lobby and were to go into the bus to go where we just saw these two ladies in our team. And their t-shirt, these ladies one of them, she's 55. The other one too is about that age, maybe slightly younger or so. Both of them had bonded so well at it. But we just saw that both of them had t-shirts that were torn, deliberately torn. So round neck, they cut the neck and they slashed it like this. So it was looking there, nothing was revealing, but it didn't have that color again. And then they slashed the side. So the t-shirts were short-sleeved, but they slashed the side and tied it into a bow. I said, why is this giving Gen Z things? Who started this thing? They were now saying we should guess. And the one that was an extrovert, everyone was saying was her, it was her. She said, how can you? Yes, it was a quiet lady. They asked for a pair of scissors. from the lobby of the hotel where we're staying. And we're like, wow. That was great. They transformed that T-shirt into just, not just looking plain, into something that looked like everybody was like, ah. Because they were in a place where they could rest, relax, breathe, and the creativity came.
Interesting.
It's their T-shirt. And they turned it into what they wanted to. So like Adara said, when you stop thinking about what will people think, creativity flows. But you see, because they were in a close-knit setting with like-minded women, there was nobody looking at them. They didn't, So again, check your environment too.
Absolutely. Okay.
And up your game. You are co-creators. What you're creating may be different from what I'm creating, right?
Certainly.
So,
thank you. Please give her a big round of applause. Just a quick one. You can see right behind me if you have questions. Now is the time to put those questions in that docket. If you send me a WhatsApp message for your own question, it's not part of it's rigging. It's not part of the election votes. Now, Pastor Sam, there's something you have said is like a new wave of stuff that you are saying now. And you reiterated it significantly and unequivocally yesterday. Innovation. At the root of innovation is love. Now, I find that very quote-unquote upsetting. Because is it innovation? Is it love that made Steve Jobs create iPhone? It's money. Who is denying it? Nobody. So, but please help us understand that, so that as people go back to their workplaces and homes and their businesses, the orientation will be, they will live with usable or functional information. What do you mean when you say at the root of innovation is love?
Thank you very much. On my flight in 3 days ago, I had 2 conversations on the flight, on the plane, since it was a long one, 10.5 hours. The first one with a Nigerian American who is at the top in the, should I say, finance sector. He's a chartered accountant in the US, and he's high up in the government in California State. And he's also a pastor. So he said to me that if I attend their meetings where they plan projects, road construction, infrastructure and things like that, he said, the one thing that will strike me is the level of empathy, the level of care. He said, people at the top there in government really care for people, that if I see how much, painstaking care, they take just to make sure things are convenient for people, people are comfortable, they don't waste people's time driving on the road, the hospital infrastructure, and so on. He said, sir, empathy, love, those are the things I feel. So towards the end of the flight, then Pastor Kenny and I also got talking. So I mentioned what that gentleman said. Pastor Kenny said, sir, I interact with the corporate sector a lot in the US. He said, it shocked me to see how much they want to help you. That's even amongst themselves, how much they want to help you to succeed, how much they want to support you. So he said it's very foreign. He found it foreign coming from Africa. Because at that level, we play dangerous games. Now, I've been emphasizing it because in thinking about this innovation thing, if we don't deal with it at the cultural level, we're not moving forward. once you see, ID spoke about recognizing patterns. So when I look at Nigeria, I try to define the problems. And then I see that it's the same in Ghana, it's the same in Cameroon, it's the same in Congo, it's the same in, you are dealing with culture. It's the same code. The positive side to it is if you crack the code for one country, you've cracked it for all the rest. So these days, if you try to say the truth, I'm one person who doesn't care much what people think, or I say facts without sentiment. But I find out Jesus came with grace and truth. So sometimes when you say your truth, if you don't add grace to it, it won't land well, because by the time you've annoyed someone, they won't even hear what you're saying anymore. If I'll say it the way it is, there's a culture of wickedness. How do you explain it? So I'm coming from somewhere, maybe I'm coming from an airport in Europe or North America. I see what the airport looks like. I land in Nigeria, I see the airport, I'm sad. And I'm telling myself, it's not because we don't have money that this airport is like this. Yeah, it is that lack of care, that lack of empathy, that lack of love, right? When they asked Christ, which is the greatest commandment, you would think it was a very sophisticated question. He said, it's not complicated. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. He said, on these two hang all the law and the prophets. All. You can summarize all the laws in the Old Testament in those two, which are actually one. Because when you get to 1 John 4, John the Apostle, who was there when Christ was speaking, said, if you read verses 20 and 21, 1 John 4, he said, this is actually what the Lord said, that you cannot say that you love God and not love man. The two are the same. You can't claim that you love God and not love your brother. The two are on the same plane. That's their own understanding of what Jesus was saying. Because he was saying, how can you say you love God that you cannot see and then not love your brother that you can see? Which means that God is in every human being. I mentioned it yesterday, right?
Yeah.
God is in every human being. And I said, whatever you will not give God, don't give man. That was their own understanding of what Jesus said. Now, to be candid, when I look all over the world, including the United States of America, I remember what Jesus said in Matthew 24, that in the last days, he said, because iniquity will abound, the love of many will wax cold. So I see the level of love in the world going down. That's why I'm shouting about it.
Which leads me to this question. Since you are quoting Bible, I mean to quote Bible. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
In other words, first of all, love yourself.
Yes.
I think that is the priority of many people.
Yes.
Back and first for yourself.
Yes.
Because they themselves have a poverty problem. So everybody wants to first of all solve their problem before they go and solve any other person's problem. So is that a code? How do we crack it?
Thank you.
How do we look out before we come back?
That's a very, very good question, because it takes us back again to an important dimension to it, the culture part, the environment, the conditioning. So the truth is that an American does not grow in the same environment as a Nigerian. Let me explain. I say, when you look at a tree, what is in the soil is what is in the tree. The tree draws on the soil to actually grow itself into the size of the dream in its DNA. You cannot divorce a person away from the environment. I usually use also this illustration of the young boy whose torso was found floating down River Thames in London many years ago. Some people took that boy into the UK, and within a few days, they had sacrificed that boy for ritual purposes. So by the time they saw the body floating down, it was only the torso. They had cut off all the limbs, cut off the hands, cut off the limbs, only torso, with a shirt and what? They were trying to track the identity of this boy. I still checked online recently. What intrigued me was that they took chips of the boy's bones into the lab and identified the place where the boy grew up within 100 square kilometers between Ibadan and Benin City. That intrigued me. Why? They named, and they did it by identifying the prevalent kind of rocks in the place where the boy grew up, Precambrian rocks. In other words, it is the rocks that break down to become the soil. It is the soil that goes into the plants. It is the plants that we eat and then that form our bodies. You cannot divorce a person from the environment. And that's why this conference is important. That's why leadership is important, because leaders create environments. Leaders create environments. Okay? So when I say the environment in which the American grows up is different from that of the African, this is what I mean. When you see the Americans' primary school, they call it elementary school. Some of our university facilities are not as beautiful as them. And it's not, I'm not running down anything. I'm not saying, it is just what it is. Is it the roads we should talk about? Is it the power supply we should talk about? Is it the water supply we should talk about? Right? That's all environment. There's a reason why in Daystar we've engaged a lot in building infrastructure for schools. Because I saw a banner at a conference that Pastor Nike attended with our children in Orlando, Florida, many years ago. And I saw written on this banner, what goes into a mind comes out in a life. I said, that's it. In school, what goes into a child is more than what is written on the blackboard. The whole environment goes into the child, sitting down on the floor, having holes in the floor, having leaky roof. When rain falls, the children have to hide on one side. All that is getting somewhere. So when a Nigerian, therefore, rises up to, let's say, a position of power or authority and lacks empathy for other people, you understand why. The person has suffered. So that you are now coming to suffer. That's nothing new. It's your turn.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I think there is a nexus to this next question from our panel. By the way, if you have questions, please, because the next set of questions are from you watching and some of you that are here. So, Pastor Nick, I'm going to direct this to you because I'm inferring it's because someone is afraid of poverty that makes them to be living in Garinja. Just saying. How can one handle fear? I mean, you said the other time, maybe this is the root of the question, when you say you are a co-creator. What if I create and nobody... So how can one handle fear?
Okay, great question. And before I speak into that, it's like I'm just going to flow from where he stopped, talking about environment. The environment where, so he's talked about, yes, the schools, the physical environment, your country, but when we also bring it down home, the home. before a child even goes to a school, whether the school is beautiful or not, whether the buildings are beautiful, before the child even begins to see the teachers or the people that are there, the home. Are we born into a loving environment? Are we born into love? Or we were not? There's no way we'll not talk about trauma in these times, and I talked about it yesterday because we're talking about the soul of an innovative leader. That I'm interested in the soul of the innovative leader. Not just what the leader has innovated, or could he innovate more or better? There's negative innovation. Bullying is in someone's innovation. And that comes from how someone has been treated. So there has to be healing, there has to be unlearning. Fear is learned. When a child is born, I don't think they were born with fear, but over time, whether at home, they're always talking fear, 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 or one parent says, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there, because they remember how they felt when they went there, Conscious, most times it's unconscious. We absorb these things and we begin to reduce the dreams. We begin to let the dreams die. We begin to think, you can't try it. People will make fun of you and all of that. But how can we deal with fear? Fear, I believe it comes from, of course, knowing that attribute of God, knowing that God is love, knowing that He's backing you up, having a relationship with God, but also being bold will take care of fear. Because sometimes they're like, we say, do it afraid, in spite of the fear. So if you're a bold person, you will tell yourself, okay, what's the worst that can happen? The innovation will not work. And people will say you failed. I mentioned it yesterday, and I will tell you, which one did you try? That will be my answer. Which one did you do? Because people are many times naysayers. They feel they have to run their mouth, they have to comment on everything. And that's a creativity right there. They're creating an atmosphere, even on social media. Block, unfollow, get out of that place, because it's already seeping into you. So fear comes from, you have to understand your identity to unlearn fear. It's something we all experience, at various levels. But you still have to sit yourself down and say, where is this coming from? And what am I afraid of? Am I people-pleasing? Am I afraid of people? Am I afraid of not being loved? Am I afraid of failing, not having money? And that's where teaching comes to say, look, failure is not failure. Failure is part of the experiment and it's part of the journey. So if we simplify things for people, people will be less afraid, or they will not be afraid of fear, and they will begin to be bolder and take steps, because on the other side of fear is sometimes what you really want. Yeah.
Yesterday's session, my waka waka, while we were in the Republic of Garinja, and it's one of the slides that we also put out. Then Leke Oda said, we should learn from our mistakes. So when you say, do it afraid, can you tell us this step? I am afraid to do it. Now you are now saying, even with my afraidness.
So you do. So if you have a dream in your heart to create, what? Can someone give me an example of what you want to create? If, you have things that could be running in your mind, why it may not work, how people might make fun of you, how you might even lose money. But then if you flip your thought to what if it works, then you're going to have a great feeling. You're going to switch from the feeling of pain to pleasure. Because when you are thinking fear, you've gone to borrow pain from your future, and you're already feeling it. So then you stop there and said, I'm not doing this thing, because I'm already feeling all the pain. Why should I go and But if you borrow the pleasure of the other side, the victory, the sweetness, and you are feeling that pleasure, and you let the feeling of pleasure be greater than the feeling of pain, then you will push through and do it because it's a valid dream. I'm not talking about something that is not yours. I can't have a dream of kidnapping someone and say, I will push through to let it happen. No, a beautiful dream that you thought was possible. But you shared with one or two friends and they said the same thing. You know you will get. And then you say, it's true, what was I thinking of? And you just put it in the cooler. That's an environment right there. So you have to go back and talk to yourself before you went to talk to those friends. And those friends are not wicked. They also transfer their own fear to you. But if you do it, then you become their inspiration and their mentor and all of that. And they will go do what they were supposed to do that has been in the cooler. Case in point, Peter was in the boat and he saw the Lord walking on water. So let's go to the Bible. Right? And Peter, because his temperament too, very, because that also plays a part. Temperaments play a part if you're maybe more introverted or you are more pessimistic and all that, you might be more prone to fear. So you need more encouragement, more on learning. So, and interesting, so many of those kind of people have ideas in their head. But the leaning towards that quietness, I don't want noise, I don't want everybody coming for me, and that's why some people are not on social media or their social media page is private. It's okay, do it private, do whatever, we're not beefing anywhere. But there's that fear of people, come for me, comment. But some people are like, yes, we're going to eat those comments for lunch. In fact, we'll eat rejection for lunch. Some people have figured out that it only makes me more popular. And they want to be popular because when they are popular, what they want to sell, people will see it. And they've developed thick skin. Peter jumped on water. He said, if it's you, tell me to come. And he said, come. And he jumped there. That means he did it impulsively, but halfway he remembered that he was walking, that he was not supposed to be walking on water, and he began to sink.
So, borrow, you can choose what to borrow. You can borrow fear from the future. Or you can borrow
pain or pleasure
from the future. So in case you think you don't have money in the bank.
And you borrow it, and he always talks about the power of imagination.
Yes.
So travel into the future.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Pastor Sam, this one is for you. And this fellow is asking, how can one start afresh after falling out of track, being an impactful creator that had built influence and volume for himself? How can one return of the mark?
Okay. I read a book many years ago titled How to Bounce Back from Failure to Success in 30 Seconds. I saw it with a friend. I pestered him until I got that book to read. I was expecting some magical formula. The author said you can bounce back from failure to 30 seconds because that is how long it takes you to make up your mind to try again. And I think Pastor Nike did mention it, shift your attitude about failure. Just shift your attitude about failure. Okay? Because I've been teaching people how to succeed now for a few decades. I tell people your library on success is not complete until you have a book on failure. Because success does not happen without failure. Success does not happen without failure. Practically everything that you use, that people innovated, it took a lot of experimenting They wasted a lot of money, time, product before they got it right. Okay? And that's how we started life out. When they took us into the labs in school, that was what we did. Whatever we did, they said it was experimenting. But then we grew up to be adults and just lost that capacity. And it depends a lot also on, again, the environment and the mindsets of the people that you flow with. I think, so when you look at a society that is not very innovative, you will find there's a dangerous attitude towards failure. When you make mistake, people descend on you. The society runs you down. They destroy your self-esteem for making mistakes. But you have other environments where it's not the same. You have families where it's not the same. You have families where you make a mistake, everybody descends on you. If you lead in an organization, it is something you need to watch out for, to make sure that people are not criticizing, right? And destroying people just because they made mistakes. Because they will be afraid to try. And if you don't try, you're not going to win. You're not going to achieve any success. So for the person who's asking the question, therefore, the point is, you're a normal person. The fact that you fell off track or you made some mistake shows that you're a human being. And what you just need to do is find out where you fell off track and get back on track there and continue your journey.
The next, please give him a big round of applause. But the next question is similar, and I'll still throw it at you. There are like two or three specific questions for Pastor Nike. But this one is similar. How do you handle a spouse that sees your innovative self as being proud? I would have just said, go and listen to Heidi Kabasa, but I don't want to be simplistic. So, how do you handle a spouse that sees your innovative self as being proud? This action has led me to develop low self. Him knew, or how, not me. This action has led me to develop low self-esteem. So,
good. What you want to do is find out why the person is like that, or why the person thinks like that. Okay? Again, we're all products of environments, and then there's a temperament dimension to it. There's a personality dimension to it. So it will be easier when you understand where the person is coming from. I think Adaura alluded to that. You need to understand where someone is coming from, right? So check their upbringing. Check their stories. The family they grew up in, the schools they attended, the experiences they've had, professional experiences that they've had. And then check the person's temperament. Some temperaments are more risk-taking. Some are risk-averse. You need to know who you married. You need to study the person you married like you're on a PhD program. Honestly, or else you can frustrate yourself to no end. Some people are just averse to taking risks. It's who they are. So with that, you can make the person a bit more self-aware. Okay. Because you're supposed to communicate, right? And sometimes people actually don't know the impact that what they're saying and doing is having on the other person. And that's where the communication helps. Look, we're not the same. This is your temperament, this is mine. This is your upbringing, this is mine. Your parents were civil servants. Mine were entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. Okay? You may think there's going to be a big problem, but at the end of the day, we may lose some, but we also win some. Things like that. So I would suggest a more informed approach to it like that than quarreling. Now, what did Jesus say? If your brother has something against you, he said, discuss with the person. And that's how it's supposed to be in a family anyway, in a marriage. Try and discuss it. He said, if the other person cannot get it, then you need someone who would come and impartially hear this side, and help both sides to understand better. And he said, if it doesn't work, take it to the elders of the church. I will encourage, in the marital situation, those are the steps. Let me switch it to the organizational dimension. So when people come to DLA, and then in DLA, we shift brains, and then they get back to the organizations. It could be churches and their staff or associate pastors. So the first few years, we were getting the feedback. When they had the board meeting or some management meeting, the person that came to DLA would say, that's not what they told us at DLA. That's not how to do it. This is how we should do it. This is how we should do it. We then found out that before long, they were seeing them as rebels. So we actually then began to say at DLA, there's a way to go about it, right? If you've got to manage people's egos, which was what I encouraged the lady to do. You don't start from everything will scatter, right? You try to take an informed approach with humility. But then just like it ended with the marriage one, it also happened. In some instances, I had a particular scenario where the GO, after hearing what this young person was saying, the person that came the first time, sent someone else, and then sent someone else to DLA, then sent his wife to DLA, then called me and said, look, I don't have the time to come. It used to be 3 weeks program. Then he said, I don't have the time to come. I'm coming to your office. You will do my own DLA for me in your office. Amazing gentleman. Gio was humble enough, right? Yes, we did some hours together. Eventually, in fact, for his sake and because of the suggestion he gave, because that feedback helped us to know that there were many people like him that we could not put in the same class with their associates, and they also did not have that much time. So we created the executive program that was shorter. And he came and attended it. And their whole ministry, their church was completely transformed. So in some instances, yes, a spouse would change. In some other instances, an associate will have no choice but to exit. And I tell them, you need to know when you get to that point. Just keep praying, because obviously God led you to go there. Don't make rash decisions. But when you get to that point, God will let you know.
A big round of applause. Thank you. So if you don't change, if you lose a good person, it's okay. Now, Pastor Nike, this one is for you. I have a lot of ideas and solutions to problems. Yeah, you've spoken to it, but you have to address this person. But I battle with low self-esteem. How do I deal with the fear of being seen? In other words, they don't want to be famous, but they want to be relevant, or something like that.
Well, low self-esteem. You've got to be healed from low self-esteem, because having a low self-esteem, things like being shy and all that, is not a fruit of the Spirit. It's not of God. It's something that needs healing in your soul. So if you had a wound on your feet, let's say, it's visible and it hurts, you do something about it. Maybe because it's visible, you feel the pain, people can see it. You would try to do something about it. You try to get it treated, you go to the doctor for it. So why should you leave your soul in that state? I think it's a kind of stickness, kind of. But because it's internal, you can mask it, you can, you have to get help. You have to get help. And help is firstly in God's word. If you're a Christian, get the scriptures that talks about you, who you are in him. You're his beloved. Think about, I'm saying if you're a Christian, think about Jesus died for you. If you think deeply about it, it should really raise your self-esteem. If you really believe it, some of us, we don't fully believe it, but if you fully believe it, that should improve your esteem, that someone laid down his life for me. Get scriptures, and if possible, see a Christian therapist, counselor. It will take time. It won't be overnight, because at times you'll lapse, back into it. But when you keep at it, one day you'll be fully out of it. And when you see the signs again, you tell yourself, nope, I'm not giving in to this. Because if you don't deal with it, you'll be, I think, hurting yourself more without knowing, and hurting us, the rest of the world, that should partake of your creativity. Not everyone needs to be out there. There are those who are introverts, quiet by nature. Being an introvert is nothing. It's not a bad thing. And I realized that when we read this book, Quiet, by Susan Cain. It helped me to understand the 3 introverts in my family. Now home we're 5, right? And 3 are introverts, because he's an introvert. But you won't know, but because, again, calling and grace of God over time, he now talks, especially when you find introverts, it's not that they don't talk, but when they find what to talk about, they really talk. And then for a long time, you may not see them because they need to go and recharge their batteries. Meanwhile, some people recharge their batteries by talking. But it doesn't mean that they always feel like talking. So the healing is necessary, and you have to get that healing. If not, all the dreams, all the ideas, all the innovations will just be in your head. And fear will stop you from creating. Find a mentor. There are those who have been in like that before, and they have changed, and they are doing amazing. Find someone like that will be able to encourage you every step of the way, and you remember that they were one. When they tell you their story, you find that their own low self-esteem was even worse than yours. But how they are today, like Mr. Alder yesterday, he wasn't talking about low self-esteem, but he said the shortest boy should come out from one of the schools, and a boy was, short, came out, until another one came, and we were all like, really tiny. I'm sure they're here today, because, it's a 2-day conference. Really tiny, but you know what he said to that boy? He said, I was like you. He said, I was like you when I was in school. And he said, if I were him, if people had made fun of him before because of his height or his smallness, he should say, Mr. Alder was like me. I look at him today. And Mr. Alder is not tall, his average height. He's not claiming that I have now grown tall. But you don't look at his height. You look at what's in his head. Come on. So the Bible will say, small and mighty. That's what he should be calling himself now. Name yourself. So if you're fearful, if you have low self-esteem, give yourself a new name. Look at yourself in the mirror every day and speak to yourself. Do it, and you will see your confidence rise, and you will get better and better and better.
Thank you so much. Please give her a big round of applause. Something tells me that at least 60 to 70% of the people in this hall, including those who are extroverts, have learned something, especially from that one. We are about 5-10 minutes short. We have about 5 to 10 minutes to go. So I'm going to crunch 2 questions into one. Good afternoon, Dr. Sam. So we're in a country where you try and want to make a difference, and you are being silenced. What can we do? Please, you answer that one with this one. I hope this place is talking about Garinja and not my country. Now, it also says, if your innovation threatens the businesses of others, how do you deal with it? In the same vein, you see, 3 in 1. In innovation, how do we balance between allowing room for creativity within a team and the structure and stringent system that allows for order or creativity? Now, the first question is talking about the environment. I think you've already spoken about the environment. That's why I just read the question. So this second one says, innovation, if your innovation threatens the business of others, how do you balance it? And then how do you balance innovation or creativity with order? Stringent order. That's the word that the person used here.
Thank you. So, your voice is being silenced. You have ideas, the environment is not ideal. Oh yeah, so the first thing we should do is fix the environment. You want to farm, it's a bush. The environment is not conducive for you to plant your seeds. What's the first thing you do? Clear the bush. Everyone in Nigeria, in Africa, and I dare say, Latin America, Asia, developing parts of the world, now needs to prioritize politics and governance. It's prioritized. You say, but I'm not allowed to have a voice. They're shutting down people's voices. I say, well, I wish you knew how better your opportunities are now compared to 30 years ago when there was no social media. And we did not have mobile phones like you do now, where you can actually stay in your room and throw something and it has gone all over the world. So we need to continue to innovate. I'll tell you that I'm not going to lie. I know governments also have powerful softwares that they use to try track the IPs of people that post things. However, I trust the younger generation to leverage technology to avoid, all those shenanigans, I should say. Yeah, that's why we have blockchain technology and all of those things. Understand that these technologies come from environments that value individual freedom. And that's why they innovated these technologies to give the individual power. Elon Musk yesterday was celebrating citizen journalism. He said, we've taken the power away from the traditional media. Because that actually is the point. So, you can't afford to lose your voice. Contribute. And let's keep making the efforts bit by bit. Things will be shifting. We've got to shift the politics. We've got to shift the governance. I can't go too much into that. So what do you do if your innovation is threatening other businesses? I'm sorry. Do you know how many businesses the iPhone killed? It is what it is, right? So you've got to remember, your motive has got to be love. In the bid to solve some problems for the world, you create new ones because you cause some to expire. Sorry, AI is killing some things. Am I right? So it is what it is. So if you really care about those businesses and their owners, then in your innovation, you need to factor them in and create new opportunities for them. right? So the good that you are doing, so let me put it this way. Don't innovate evil. Don't do innovation that causes more pain than the good that it creates. Don't do innovation that is so selfish it serves only you and serves nobody else. That's important because the invention of the atomic bomb was also innovation. The invention of the gun was innovation. So the same way owning a gun will give you defense is the way it can make you a murderer. The difference is you. So I'll put the onus on you to make sure that your innovation does more good in this world than the evil that it does. And then the last question is about
your innovation, your creativity can be made better or flourish in a stringent environment.
So thank you. It's the fact that we've got to create boundaries, right? It's like a paradox. Excuse me. You need to allow freedom, creativity. At the same time, you've got to provide guardrails, policies. No environment operates well without rules. No environment operates well without rules, okay? So an organization has got to have principles, values, policies. And this is where leadership comes in, right? When I talk about love and leadership, people say to me, so if you love people and you allow love, does it not mean that, excuse me, thank you for the innovation. If you love people, you allow love and all of that, does it not mean that people will disrespect you if you say that a leader should love people? I say that means you don't understand the nature of love. There is no love without boundaries. It's not love if I leave you to hurt yourself or to hurt other people. So, if my son if I see a bad character trait in a child and I impose discipline on the child so that the child will form new habits, that's love. That's love. So, first, in any team, in any organization, let the standards be clear. Let the values be clear. And when they are violated, let the consequences for violating the rules be clear. And then people can innovate within the context of those policies.
Please give Pastor Sam a big round of applause. All the questions are quite similar. Because the last question, for instance, how can I be innovative when it's only my boss and ideas from the superiors that are being executed, not junior staff? How can I be proactive when my ideas come back with backlashes? Anyway, I think, some of those things have been spoken to. But, Pastor Nick, I'd like you to close with this. And to speak to those who are under authority but are yearning to go. I.D. Kabasa spoke about the fact that even he had to start to listen to the younger ones because at a point, I.D. Kabasa was the disruptive element in the music industry. Now, he has to, while he's still incubating his thoughts, as soon as it lands like this, his innovation has expired. Now, there are many young people all over the world, many of them watching us now and who watch this conversation, who want to go, but they are under authority, feeling stifled, can't just do it and damn the consequence. Can't just get out of home and say, Mommy and Daddy, bye-bye. Not in the days of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates that they'll go and sit in the garage. There is no garage to sit in. So what would you advise? First, to those young people, you are a mother, you know how young people can be. What do you say to those young people whose parents don't seem to be interested in listening to their innovative imagination, disruptive imaginations, things that the father and mother didn't grow up with? These days, you ask a child, go and sit down there. Why? And the mother is saying, let me not use the thing that my mother used to say. You go touch, like, in my own days, when Mommy and Daddy show up, you disappear.
The problem, we're not in your days anymore.
So is that what you are telling them? Anyway, what do you tell those young people?
So to the young people, you're full of ideas, you're raring to go, you feel limited, or you're still under their authority, you're under 18, you're still in school, they're paying your school fees. Be patient. Be patient. Write down the dreams. Keep documenting the dreams. Doesn't mean you have to execute it. Be patient, especially since you don't have money or you don't have. Just be patient. Keep writing the vision down. Keep writing the dream down. Keep documenting all the ideas you want to innovate that you have, that you cannot. The ones you can, carry them out. There are low-hanging fruits, for example. You may not be able to do the high-sounding one because they're not in agreement with you, they don't have money to give you to do it. But, you're in school. If you want to innovate something in the food industry, for example, how about starting by selling what someone has already innovated? At least you've put a foot in the door. I don't think your parents will say you can't sell cookies or biscuits or fruit juice or whatever to your classmates, right? Or you want to own this big makeup industry. Many of us have heard about Tara Feladote, how she started in school. She was doing makeup for her colleagues, Begin to innovate in a small way. When they also see that this thing is growing and it needs to go to the next level, they are actually the one obstructing it. They'll quickly align with you somewhere along the line. You've heard stories of people who are comedians today, who their parents said, what? But when they saw that they were becoming famous, or they wanted to do football, and all that, I said, food. But when they begin to see that they're going somewhere with it, right-thinking parents, they quickly align. They may align later, but they will align, and the young people, many times, that's why I always say young people be very forgiving, so that at any point in time your parents align, or the authorities, or they align. Don't say, they're just forgive. Be ready to forgive, and just be grateful that they align somewhere along the line. Maybe they should have come alongside you 5 years ago. They're now coming now. But just be glad that they eventually saw the light. Because you are the ones seeing the light. They did not see it. And so how you conduct yourself too will determine whether they'll quickly come alongside you or not. Because sometimes parents test character. They're really watching. And after a while they say, okay, you've stuck to this thing. And I've been watching you. You've not raised your voice against me. You've not, okay, go and do it. So sometimes it's just a test as well, a test of your patience, of their own patience as well. And so I think if young people will just be a bit more patient also and try and understand, because you can't be in their shoes yet until you get to that age, right? Because who is going to give way first, And of course, on the parents' side and on the authority figures, older people in the industry or whatever industry, we have to make room. I'm not saying to make room to become extinct and irrelevant, but if you have a mindset that you'll be relevant, then you'll be relevant. So that's not the word. That should not be the fear. So Ide Kabasa is not afraid of being irrelevant, but he's taken into cognizance because he's listening. And the way you can be relevant is to listen, because you end up being their coach. So if you've played soccer or whatever game for so long and you can no longer play because of age or whatever, but if you become a coach, you get to walk in for free. You didn't catch that? So you have to reinvent yourself. And Mr. Victor Gbenga Afolabi said yesterday, he talked about himself first and then other things, that he was he's a restless person. Some people have tagged restless as a negative word. To him, it's not a negative word, because he said he read pharmacy, he and his wife, but he could not sit in the pharmacy store branch. He was bored, and he always go to his wife until he left his own branch for her. Manage it. I'll go do something else. And he said he has done 4 careers now. Someone will say, jack of all trade is what you call super inventor. It means he has invented across industries. So when they chase you from one industry, or you chase yourself, go to another. You are not a tree, move. It's only trees that can't move. You are not a tree. Move. At least experiment. Move. If you find out that place is not, and you find out that you were doing better, then go back there. Even the prodigal son, he left, and prematurely he left, and he still came back. Which means that the father was full of love and understanding. And he knew this guy was going prematurely, but he still let him go rather than fight with him. But he was still there for him. He didn't say, "You are knocking the door. Get out. Go and be wallowing with pigs." He knew the guy was immature, but the guy was so insistent. So if your young one is so insistent, they're ready to go, let them go. Let your prayers be with them, let your heart be there. Because there is no point fighting, because we won't get anywhere. And when they succeed tomorrow, you'll be pained that none of their effort, none was credited to you. Your 1 penny was not inside. It will be really bad, and you'll feel sad. And we will not throw away our children in Jesus' name. It still brings us back to that love. This is the way I look at it sometimes. I look at the worst case scenario. God forbid. So what if I was not alive to this age to see this child? Your child is 16, he wants to leave what he wants to do. Tell yourself that it's because I'm alive that the child is even saying, "Please, can I study this course?" When you look at the worst scenario, you just chill and say, "Lord, thank you for your mercy and for your grace. That I even have a child, that I even have a mentee, that I even have a staff that is giving me ideas that are wild." Please, we need to calm down. We need to relax, because it won't get us anywhere. The wars between generations, we've addressed this before in ELC, we won't get anywhere. And I think it's we, the older people, that need to be more understanding. Because I'm in that older age. We need to be more understanding. Why? Because at the end of the day, we only pay. What if the child now goes and disgraces the name and spoil? You see, that is it. You have fear. You've borrowed that fear that if the child does not succeed, it will be attributed to you. That parents didn't do. And that's because of a judgmental society too. They say, "Parents, you didn't do your work well, you didn't do your work." That's why so you are trying to control the child. So the child will be prim and proper. But they will have failures along the way. So those who will judge you and say, "Oh, you raise your child, but that's what you say," it's not end yet. It's not even half time yet. Don't judge me. It's still back to that. It's still fear of man. We said it before, I think last year, that adults, we have peer pressure. And because of that, we don't let the children, let them experiment within the boundaries of. So in Western world, when you're 18, you can leave home. In fact, from college, just be going. With 18 years up, yes. If you like, come back. If you don't like, we still stay in touch, that. But some don't leave. Even in the Western world, in America, some don't leave. 20-something, 30, they're still home because that's the agreement. But they can leave, and the government will not hold the parent responsible. Why is this 19-year-old not in your house? 18 is already adulthood. Yeah. So it's in Nigeria that we keep. So what age are you that you're saying, "Oh, your parents are not allowing you"? It's a mindset.
Absolutely.
It's a mindset. So get creative. They are the generation that are creative. And some creativity will knock out, not intentionally, but it will knock out some, I don't know how to put it.
No, you are right. The phone has killed so many businesses. Alarm clock not there again.
Even the photographers are even struggling too, because we all have our phones.
Yes,
and it's like, if you don't give me the pictures, the official, on social media, we are dropping the stills before the official pictures come. There's official photo. Even here in this, doing this conference, we have official photographers. Say, no, use my phone. As backup. Sometimes it comes across as trust issues, but as backup. Because we've all turned camera, we've all turned content creator. Content creator is now a job.
Yes.
Is now social media manager is now an industry.
Yeah.
Right? So let's get creative.
Okay. Please, a round of applause, please. The final word will come from you, Pastor Sam, because I know you are also very, very passionate about young people. In fact, a good number of people are here because they know and they engage with you online. So when you have this radical mindset, it's no longer 1995, but 1995, some of them here will probably have called you a rebel because of the initiatives that you came up with. But if you would be speaking to such radical minds here now, what would you be saying to them? You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Right? I would say dream. Dream. And take the limits of your mind. Take the limits of your mind. If you are someone who can pray, one of the most important things your prayer should do is to get you ideas from God. And the future definitely must be different from the present. So some of your ideas will naturally be crazy. It'll be things that won't even make sense to you yourself. That's the only way forward for us. Our future is in those dreams that you are getting. Some of you right now, you're actually already getting some of those ideas and dreams. You are looking at those of us who are ahead of you, and you are feeling like you are crazy. When I got the idea to go on radio, I had no model. The subject matter I was going to address, no model. I had not been out of Nigeria to America to know how motivational speakers did whatever it was they did. But I pressed forward. Even I could not imagine how much value it will add to people. But I pressed forward. There were questions in my head, but I went ahead. I look back 30 years now, and I'm grateful that I did. I can't tell you that it is because Nigeria was better. Things have been depreciating gradually. I was discussing with one of our business people here in church. I said 26 years ago, when former President Abacha ceased being head of state, he died 26 years ago. I said the exchange rate of the naira to the dollar was 22 naira to the dollar. Official exchange rate. I think the unofficial one was 86 naira or so. I said it depreciated from there now to 1,700 and something, or about 1,700. So it's not that things have gotten better. But I said to that business person, that was the period when your business boomed and became a billionaire, multi-billionaire. I said during that time, my own work grew. I did most of my work in ministry. I said the common denominator between me and you is that we served people en masse. We've served tens of thousands of people. We've added value to them. So in spite of the fact that things were not perfect in Nigeria, we made progress. That is my advice to the young person. Don't swallow the narrative in the news. Don't consume this negative news to the point where you are now discouraged. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. That's why you are here. Run against the wind. Okay? Whatever those crazy ideas are, as long as they're going to add value to people, go for them. 30 years from now, you will be glad that you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've had the privilege of hosting Dr. Sam and Dr. Nike Adeyemi at this panel session of the Excellence in Leadership Conference 2024. We'll bring you another episode of the program next year. I'm Ayo Makinde. Bye for now.